Have you ever felt like life has brought you together with someone you can't be with? Why create such a deep connection if it's not meant to last? It's one of the most painful experiences, to know that a connection is deep and undeniable, but to know deep down that it can't be fulfilled. No matter how much you both want it, life's circumstances, time, or even your own evolution demands otherwise. It's in these moments that we realize that people aren't always meant to stay. Sometimes they appear to awaken parts of us that we would never otherwise touch. Carl Jung believed that meaningful connections arise not from the rational mind, but from the unconscious. They are part of self-discovery, a way for the deep psyche to call us to transformation. When two souls meet and spark something powerful, it's rarely about building a simple, easy life together. More often than not, it's a catalyst for the very growth that would otherwise take years or never happen. You meet someone, and suddenly everything you thought you had healed comes to the surface again. The insecurities you've buried, the wounds you've pretended not to feel, the dreams you've long since given up on, begin to whisper to you. This is no accident, it's part of a subtle, inner plan. And while part of you wants to hold on, to make this connection safe and permanent, another part of you, deeper and wiser, understands that the true purpose was never to own. It was about awakening. The human heart longs for certainty, belonging, permanence, but the soul longs for growth, truth, awakening. And sometimes these two desires tear us apart from within. You can feel a deep love for someone and not be meant to share a life together. Love is not always a destination. Sometimes it is a door, and once you have walked through it, the door closes behind you. Jung talked about synchronicity. The idea that events, encounters, and connections do not happen by chance, but through the alignment of deeper realities. When you meet someone and feel an overwhelming sense of recognition, it's not just chemistry. It is a clash of timelines, a meeting orchestrated by the unconscious forces that guide human destiny. The pain that follows is not a mistake. It is a necessary crack in the shell you have built around yourself. You might think, if life wanted to teach me, why couldn't it do it without breaking me? Why give me something so beautiful only to take it away? But growth, real growth, rarely happens in comfort. It's the brokenness, the longing, the unanswered questions that force you to dive into depths you'd never otherwise explore. It's in loss that you find yourself, or at least the parts you were afraid to face. Biological processes and psychological patterns do not operate by human standards of fairness. They do not prioritize comfort over transformation. They move in patterns of expansion, in waves of awakening. And sometimes the price of awakening is the loss of what you most desire. The person you can't forget wasn't a punishment. He was a mirror, a catalyst, a messenger carrying a piece of your own soul's forgotten history. You needed to meet them. You needed to love them. You needed to lose them, because through that process you would remember something essential about who you are. Something that no amount of comfort, no amount of easy love could ever reveal to you. When you can't forget someone, it's because they touched parts of you that are still unfinished. They awakened something that was dormant. They pushed you into a life you were meant to awaken to. Not because they were meant to walk alongside you, but because they were meant to open a door you were too afraid to approach alone. It hurts, is confusing. It doesn't seem fair. But when you look deeper, when you stop asking why they left and start asking what they awakened in me, then the true meaning begins to emerge. Maybe they awakened your ability to feel again after you'd shut yourself off for years. Maybe they showed you patterns you needed to break. Self-sabotage, fear, self-betrayal. Maybe they cracked the wall you had built around your heart, reminding you that vulnerability is not weakness, it is life itself. Jung said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemicals. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, you have met them and you have changed. They have affected your chemistry, not just your emotions. And this change was the real goal. Not a fantasy, not a fairy tale, but an alchemy of the soul. You are not broken because you cannot forget them. You are not weak because it still hurts. You are human, and your soul knows that some connections are meant to be imprinted on you because the person you become after will never be the same. Maybe you were not meant to be with them. Maybe you were meant to meet yourself through them. It's easy to believe that if the connection is real, it should work. That love should be enough. That mutual feelings should naturally lead to a life together. But the truth is harsher and deeper than we want to admit. Not every real relationship is meant to last. Some are meant to burn brightly and leave ashes, not roots. Psychological mechanisms send certain people to encounter you not to stay, but to ignite something sacred and painful at the same time. They awaken your dormant desires, your deepest fears, or your unfinished healing. They enter your life like a match to dry wood, and nothing is ever the same. You feel burned and think you have lost something, when in fact you have been freed from something you did not even know was holding you back. Carl Jung often emphasized the importance of confronting the unconscious with those parts of ourselves that we do not see, do not want to see, or cannot yet accept. Love, especially the kind that seems fading but impossible, forces us to confront these hidden parts. It brings the unconscious to the surface with brutal clarity. You see your neediness, your fear of abandonment, your idealizations, your wounds, and you can't unsee them. When two souls meet but cannot stay together, it is often because their meeting was about activation, not attachment. One soul was meant to catalyze the growth of the other. One was meant to reflect unseen truths. And once the mirror has done its job, the physical connection often breaks down, not out of cruelty but out of necessity. You may think you failed because you couldn't make it happen. But perhaps success would have kept you dormant. Maybe clinging to them would keep you in old patterns, preventing you from evolving beyond the self you were before they came along. We often want relationships to be safe havens, comfort zones, but many of the most important connections are storms, turbulent, beautiful, transformative. They shatter everything false and leave you naked, vulnerable, afraid. And in that horror, you find your true strength. You find the parts of yourself you've buried under years of surviving and compromising. Jung wrote that loneliness comes not from being alone, but from not being able to communicate what you think is important. Meeting someone who sees you, truly sees you, can be the most exhilarating and terrifying experience of all. You realize how much you have hidden, how much you have dulled your own features, just to fit into a world that demands safety, not authenticity. Sometimes the processes of self-discovery send someone who breaks your silences, who forces you to confront what you have suppressed, who destroys the false world to which you have clung. And while part of you wants to hold on to them, to make them stay, another, wiser part of you knows that they came to tear down your walls, not to live inside them. You don't lose a spiritual connection by losing a person. You lose it by refusing to see what it had to teach you. If you cling to bitterness, regret, or resentment, you remain stuck in the wound. But if you give in to the pain, if you allow it to show you where you have been sleeping, where you have been hiding, where you have been afraid, then you are transformed. Our inner world does not send people into our lives by chance. He sends lessons, awakenings, and mirrors. Every connection is a message. Some messages are delivered through love and stability. Others come wrapped in bitterness and loss. But the sender is the same. That part of your inner world that wants you to become who you really are. You may meet someone who seems like home, but who is only meant to show you that home is something you must first build within yourself. You may love someone deeply, only to realize that true love sometimes means letting go. Not because the love was false, but because clinging to it would betray your own becoming. Pain is not always punishment. Sometimes pain is a crack through which light comes in, a person you can't be with. Someone you can't forget may have been the key that opened the door inside you. A door you didn't even know was locked. It's not fair. It's not easy. It's not what you wanted, but it's meaningful. And meaning in the Jungian sense is what the soul seeks most. When you feel longing for them, remember that you're not just missing them. You miss the version of yourself that existed when they were around. You mourn the innocence, the possibilities, the dream, but what you have gained is a new consciousness. A deeper self-knowledge, an awakened heart, that cannot be taken away. You may never completely forget them. Some people leave imprints too deep to erase. But you can transform what their presence awakened in you. You can carry the lessons, the love, the pain, not as chains, but as wings. They were never sent to complete you. They were sent to open you up, to push you closer to your true self, to remind you that the deepest connections are not possessions, they are evolution. Life doesn't send you who you want. It sends you who you need. And sometimes the soul you needed most is the one you couldn't keep. We often think that if something hurts us deeply, it must be wrong. That if a relationship doesn't last, it must be a mistake. But the soul doesn't work that way. Jung understood that life is not about finding permanent comfort. It is about individuation, about becoming the truest, deepest version of yourself. And the path to that self is rarely smooth. It's harsh. It's devastating. It's filled with encounters that tear you apart so you can rebuild yourself on a more honest foundation. The person you can't forget wasn't a wrong turn. They were a sacred intervention. They didn't lead you astray. They pushed you into the life you were meant to live, even if it meant destroying the fantasy you once clung to. You loved the wrong person. You loved at the wrong stage of your growth. Or perhaps you loved someone who wasn't ready to love themselves and therefore couldn't meet you where you needed to be met. And that's not a failure. It's an initiation. Sometimes self-awareness sends you the wrong person at the right time. Not to hold you back, but to awaken you, to peel away layers of complacency, to burn away illusions you didn't even know you were trapped in. It feels cruel because it touches your deepest hopes. Hope that love will heal all wounds, that connection will erase loneliness, that another person can anchor you together in a way you can finally call safe. But no one can be your anchor. No one can fill the gaps you refuse to fill yourself. And those who leave are often the ones who reveal how much you still have to return home to your own soul. When you meet someone who awakens you, you feel alive in a way you never knew you could. But when they leave, or when that becomes impossible, you are left standing in ruins with the terrifying realization that aliveness was never really about them. She was always connected to you. They didn't give you what you lacked. They showed you what you already had. And now the real work begins, nurturing that spark without needing anyone else to keep it going, tempting to romanticize those connections, believing that someday, maybe, it will work out. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe it was just bad timing. And perhaps that is true. But clinging to the hope of reunion often blinds you to the real task before you, integration. Taking what has been awakened and weaving it into your own becoming. Jung taught that what you resist persists. If you resist loss, resist grief, resist transformation, you remain trapped. You continue to wait, to hope, to bleed into a history that has already given you all it had to give. Our inner world does not waste energy. It does not send people into your life by chance. Every meeting of souls, even painful, unfinished ones, serves a purpose. And the sooner you stop asking why we couldn't be together and start asking what this connection was meant to show me, the sooner you'll step into your next evolution. Maybe they awakened your capacity to love more deeply than ever before. Maybe they stirred up an anger you needed to face. Maybe they reflected your hidden fears. Maybe they called your true self from the depths where you had buried it. Or perhaps they showed you how much more you are capable of becoming. Not every connection is meant to last. Some are meant to spark. Some are meant to resurrect. Some are meant to awaken. You may mourn a loss. You may grieve for a future that will never happen. But don't lose sight of what you've gained. A deeper understanding of yourself, a more honest relationship with your own soul. There's a special kind of grief that comes when you realize that love was sent to you not to hold you, but to transform you. It's quieter than a broken heart. It's deeper than sadness. It's mourning the old self, the old way of seeing the world. And yet, beneath the sorrow, there is gratitude. Gratitude that you felt something real. Gratitude that you loved bravely. Grateful that you were split wide enough to let in new light. It's easy to become bitter. It's easy to blame them. Blame the universe. Blame yourself. But bitterness is just pain that refuses to grow. And your soul didn't come here to stay bitter. It came here to grow. You are not the same person you were before them. It's not a coincidence. It's on purpose. So maybe you can't be with them. You may never have been meant to be, but you can honor what they gave you. The fire, the courage, the clarity. They were the bridge, the destination, the storm, the refuge, the lesson, the life. And if you carry that understanding forward, if you allow love and pain and awakening to shape you without hardening you, then nothing is wasted. Then you have not lost them. You have found yourself. And that was the reason they came in the first place. Some relationships were never meant to be easy. They weren't sent to fit neatly into your life or offer you comfort without growth. They were sent to disarm you, to reveal those places inside you that were still asleep, still afraid, still hiding. When you meet someone you can't be with, it tests everything you believe about love, about destiny, about what you think you need. It makes you question whether love is a possession, whether connection is permanence, or whether perhaps love is more sacred than just holding on to it. Carl Jung believed that we are attracted to people who carry parts of ourselves that we must reclaim. Sometimes these parts come wrapped in joy, tenderness, and shared life paths. Other times they come wrapped in chaos, longing, and separation. Both are real. Both are sacred. The one you couldn't hold on to wasn't a failure. He was an awakening. They came to remind you that your heart is capable of more than just survival. They came to remind you that pain doesn't mean something is wrong. It means something mattered. There will be moments when things will still hurt. When memories flash in ways you can't control. When a song, a place, a smell, brings it back to you for a moment. Raw and alive. Let it be. Don't fight it. Pain doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've lived. And when longing comes, instead of asking why ask what they awakened in me that had to live. Life experience is not cruel. It is precise. It gives us the encounters we need, not the ones we think we want. It strips away our illusions so that something truer can be born. And often, the deeper the connection felt, the greater the transformation it requires. If you are grieving someone you can't be with, honor that grief. Honor the love, even if it didn't end the way you wanted. Honor the growth, the expansion, the part of yourself that was revealed through knowing them. And then slowly, begin to build a life that honors what they awakened. Not a life built around loss, but around the aliveness they revealed in you. Because the real tragedy would not be their loss. It would be the loss of the person you were becoming because of them. You carry a lesson. You carry a fire. You carry love. They were a chapter, not the whole book. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters are the ones we can never reread, only remember with quiet gratitude. Thank you for being here, for choosing to go through uncomfortable places within yourself, for facing questions that have no easy answers. If this message resonated with you, if you've ever felt the bittersweet weight of a connection you couldn't hold on to, you're not alone. I invite you to share your story in the comments below. Sometimes just putting it into words can bring a kind of healing. If you found something meaningful in this video, please consider giving it a like. It helps these messages reach others who may be going through the same invisible journey. And if you want to continue to explore these deeper paths of growth, transformation, and soul awakening, feel free to subscribe. There are more stories to uncover, more truths to remember, and perhaps more awakenings waiting in places we least expect. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, Flow of Thoughts, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new helpful videos.